ball, and the Hogs can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
You're listening to Pod at the Palace with Curtis Wilkerson on Inside Arkansas.
Hey, big heads. Y'all up? What's going on, everybody? Curtis Wilkerson, Andrew Ellis back again. Another unscheduled Pod at the Palace live stream, which means more good news for the Arkansas Razorbacks. It's been a day, folks. With everything that we've gone through the last several weeks here, I think everybody deserved a little double dip of portal action. Arkansas officially has a 2 deep at the center position. John Calipari gets another big man out of the portal to pair in the paint with the guy that we just talked about, Nick Pringle. It's the commitment, and we've been waiting for it. Florida State transfer big man Malique Ewin, who's been on campus for his official visit, and he just made it officially official. He's a Razorback. Folks, this is a big one, both literally and figuratively. 6'11", 230 pounds, average 14.2 points, 7.6 rebounds, 1.7 assists per game on 60% shooting for the Florida State Seminoles this season. Andrew, all of a sudden, Arkansas has a 2 deep at center. What the heck is going on?
Before we talk about how big this is for Arkansas, and it is big, can we address the intro music? I thought that was really good. A nice little touch. Shout out to John for that. You like that intro?
Right there. I like that a lot. I mean, hell, we've been waiting to use it.
Yeah, it is nice to use it. When we talked about the Nick Pringle thing, in which, by the way, we did like an hour and a half ago. So if you missed that, go check that out after this. It was kind of hard to talk about it because we felt like this was coming. We were waiting for the entree. We knew we had the side. I was waiting for the main course, and you wanted to talk about it, but it's really hard to talk about both of these moves without it being together because they are, of course, playing the same position. The skill sets complement each other. You're getting a lot more offense with Malique Ewin, and that's going to be something that fans will appreciate. And so I'm glad that we got this out of the way so we didn't have to do the speculating thing. As you know me, we're the same. We don't like to just assume and throw things out there, but we had a strong inkling this would happen. It's nice to get it out of the way. Like we said literally 20 minutes ago, we would have gotten a little concerned had this drug out a little bit longer. Good to see him wrap it up.
Yeah, no doubt about it. This is huge. Now, when you guys got to go back and listen to the Nick Pringle one because a lot of the things that we said in there directly correlate with what we're talking about here because we've been expecting this to be a package deal or a 1-2 punch, whatever you want to call it, there in the front court for Arkansas. And you got your tough, physical, defensive-minded presence in the paint and Nick Pringle. And then you get Ewin, who is a very, very gifted offensive talent. We're going to talk about all that here in a few minutes. And folks, yes, please get in there with your chats. React. You've earned it. We'll hop into those here in a few minutes. But just a little bit more background on Ewin. Obviously, he was at Florida State this past season, and it was his breakout year at the Division I level. Really put up great numbers on a Florida State team that struggled. It was Leonard Hamilton's last year, but he does have a track record for really good big men and deep front courts, and he emerged as the guy in this one for Florida State. Began his career at Ole Miss. Then he went the JUCO route, was a first-team JUCO All-American a couple years ago. Should have a couple years of eligibility remaining for Arkansas, but we talked about the bigs a lot, and Arkansas hasn't had any. And of the available big men left in the portal, we had Ewin kind of pegged here as probably the most SEC starter caliber option who's still left in the portal. And Arkansas went out there and got him. They needed him. This is a big one for the Razorbacks. Feels good, man. And like the dead period, I think, created more of a delay, Andrew, than any of us would have preferred. Yeah. Because Cal got his guy on campus. Cal likes to get his guys on campus before they announce commitments. We also knew that Malique Ewin wanted to come and see the place and take the photos and everything like that. But you kept him out of Starkville, where he had a visit scheduled for Thursday. You kept him away from Auburn. We know Bruce Pearl was trying to make a push to sell him on the Janai Broom replacement thing. None of that matters now. You got your guy. In fact, you got 2 of them today. Good stuff for the Hogs.
Certainly important to go ahead and lock it up. Like, you felt good. We felt like Arkansas has been in the lead for a while, but you just didn't want to see this drag on. And for as long as Arkansas has been in these other battles and you see these guys go to other schools, and we can always argue about how much Arkansas really was making a push for those guys, we kept saying it doesn't matter that you missed here, but you got to hit somewhere else. You got to use that somewhere else. If you don't use that bullet on Lamar Wilkerson, or you don't use that bullet on Ian Jackson, or whoever it is, you got to go somewhere. And so it's good to see Arkansas get a guy that, like you said, everybody wanted. This is a big-time piece, one of the best players left in the portal. And for its Arkansas team that no matter what they got retention-wise, needed a center, Good to see them lock this up here. And like you said with the Nick Pringle thing, just really complements the skill sets. You get a little bit more offense, and it just makes you feel better about the roster overall.
Yeah, absolutely, man. This is good. I'm pumped about this one. This is a splashy get for Arkansas, and I think they've still got, as our man said, oh, where'd my chat go? I lost it. Damn it. It was a good one too. Big game hunting. There it is. Eric Musselman. Yeah. How could we lose you? You're a ghost. It says now we can go big game hunting. I think Arkansas is still going to do that. I think they're going to be in the running for another big piece here, but this is a splashy one for the Razorbacks. Very, very much needed 5 here. My man went for 17 and 17 on LSU this season. He had 9 double doubles. He had 5 straight in ACC play in January. I know the ACC was down, but still a high major league. You get 5 double doubles in a row. You have 9 over the course of an 18-game league slate or whatever. That's pretty good. Can play above the rim. He's pretty athletic. He dunked a basketball 48 times this season, Andrew. For comparison's sake, that is more than any Razorback last season dunked. Although Theo had 45, he played in some fewer games. He missed some time there, but he plays above the rim. His offensive rating, his effective field goal percentage, if you're an analytics guy, his true shooting percentage, all excellent for a guy who has the type of usage rate as he did. His offensive and defensive rebound percentage, very, very strong. His assist rate, very surprisingly high for a big man. Offensively and on the glass, this is a big one for the Razorbacks, man.
We complimented Nick Pringle for the beef that he brings. Just a big size, imposing physical presence that we felt like Arkansas certainly needed. Malique Ewin, a little bit, we can talk about the skill set a little bit more with him. Helps on the get off the bus aspect too. Like with his Arkansas team gets off the bus and you see Pringle, you see Ewin, who's 6'11", 240. I don't know what he's officially listed at. He's a big body. That's a big NBA type body. Trevin Brazil's your third biggest guy. Like that's an imposing lot of size, a lot of physicality. I also think you combine him with Trevin, which, we'll see how this all shakes out. We assume that's going to be the starting front court, Trevin Brazil and Malique Ewin. That's about as talented an offensive front court Arkansas's probably had on campus in quite some time. And both those guys are guys that on any given night can kind of lead you in scoring, can really dominate a game. And that floor spacing with Brazil, I think, is going to be huge to unlock the upside of Malique Ewin, who, by the way, had a really awesome breakout campaign, might just be scratching the surface of what kind of player he can really be, because this was really his first time playing consistent minutes in college basketball. Obviously missed the entire year before. There might be even more upside. And so I think this is a humongous get from an offensive standpoint. There's other skill sets I want to see this team maybe improve in and maybe go out and find in the transfer portal. You're going to piece together with 1 or 2 more guys. But I feel like Ewin just gives Arkansas some threat down low. And now with Arkansas starting 5, you're going to have 5 guys that can create offense for themselves and others. It kind of lets your imagination run pretty wild about what this team can do on the offensive end.
Yeah, that's a good point that you brought up there on Ewin, to whereas he's probably not a finished product. Like when you brought Jonas Adu in, for the most part, it felt like and obviously he was injured, but when you got him, it was like what you see is what you get. Like, exactly what you're getting yourself into there. There is room for growth in Malique Ewin's game for sure. I think there's some things that they can work on with things that you see with a lot of guys, like staying, locked in off the ball defensively more frequently, just being a little bit more aggressive and, assertive on the defensive end at times. Like there's some things they can work on with him. Rim protection. He averaged about a block per game, maybe just under a block per game. So it's not like he doesn't block shots at all, but it's not your typical SEC center that's blocking 2.5 shots per game or whatever. He's built a little bit different, an interesting player. And I also like what you said about him and Trevin in the front court, because you're right. That's nasty, man. It really is, because if you go look at the numbers on synergy, now in Malique Ewin, you've got one of the best pick and roll bigs in the country to go along with a very legit pick and pop 4-man like Trevin Brazil. So the possibilities are endless there with the ball screen game that you can work on, some high-low action, some roll and replace stuff. They can really get creative with what they're doing here. And both of those guys are capable. Honestly, Ewin might be more skilled than Trevin is when it comes to putting the ball on the floor, making decisions off the bounce, and attacking closeouts when other big men are out there. This is going to be interesting. And so I look at it, still work to be done here. Arkansas, I think, needs another impact piece. I think they need to go out and add some depth. I think they need to address 3-point shooting for sure. But a move like this I think you're taking a step in the right direction towards improving that offensive efficiency, which is a big part for Arkansas of taking the next step, because even under Eric Musselman, they've been there. They've been where they need to be, borderline elite on the defensive end of the floor. They've got to get better offensively, and this is a way to go towards doing that. I like it. I really, really am intrigued by that pairing with him and TB in the front court. It's going to be fun.
I don't want to compare him and Jonas Adu too much because they really are different players, kind of get it done in different ways. Ewan's a little bit bigger, a little bit more of an above the rim presence, like you said. But I just think about that stretch of the year, and it was only about 5 weeks where Arkansas was getting consistent production from Jonas Adu, kind of the production he put up at Tennessee, that kind of 12 to 14 points a game, 6-7 rebounds. I mean, he was a double-double threat there every night for a while. And how having that interior presence, which they really missed for so much of the year, unlocked other levels of Carter Knox's game, unlocked TB's game, unlocked even DJ Wagner, Nelly, like all these guys got to kind of run off of Jonas. I think Malique Ewin, you may just get a more stretched out. It won't be just a few weeks. And hopefully, obviously, of course, health is the big thing that got in Jonas's way. But I just think having that presence, and like I said, not even comparing the skill sets, but I just think we've already seen the gravity of what having an interior presence like Malique Ewin is going to be. And you mentioned the other skill sets you want to see this roster add. And kind of like we've been saying all along, if you bring back those core 4 guys, you're really not going to have to do a ton. So this is not, that's what we've been saying all portal cycle is Arkansas is not in a rush to get 7-8 guys. They can be very selective now. And so it comes down to, do they want to get more 3-point shooting? I hope they do, of course. Do they want to go all in and get that extra big guy, get some more rim protection? I certainly wouldn't be upset with him going that route as well. Maybe you have a guy that can kind of give you both, but it's going to be fascinating. And we've done all this panicking, and now we're at a point where Arkansas is 1 or 2 guys away from being a loaded roster.
Yeah, they really are. They're getting close here. And we'll talk in just a few minutes about, maybe where they could potentially be headed from that standpoint. But yeah, Ewan, guys, if you haven't watched his highlights, do it. Just Google his name, pull up the transfer portal tapes and check him out. He's a lot of fun to watch offensively. His back to basket game is there. It's fine. There's some things that Jonas Adu did back to basket that I think are better or more advanced than what Ewan has. But his face up game is better. His elbow attacks are lethal. If he gets it in the short corner and faces up on a big, he's going by him. I think you'll be really impressed with the way that he's able to handle the ball, whether it's in transition or catching on a short roll or just getting it in the high post. He will Jalen Graham you into that spin cycle. We just mentioned he's really, really good in the pick and roll. I just feel like if you put shooters around him, and that's why I feel like that's important, and give him room to work, he's going to cook, and he's going to be able to do it in the SEC. You also can't double him because he's a great passer out of double teams. So we talked earlier, Andrew, about how Nick Pringle benefited from playing with Colin Murray Boyles. He commanded so much attention, and that kind of left Pringle open and available. If they doubled off of him, dump it down to him or catch him on a basket cut and he dunks it, you're going to be able to get some of that because Ewan's so gifted offensively. Teams are going to have to bring help from somewhere, and he's able to pass out of that really, really effectively, get defensive in scramble mode, and you'll be all right there. So big on the boards. He's a good rebounder. He's going to be able to help Arkansas there. When we say he's not a huge rim protector by way of shot blocking, he holds his own fine, like one-on-one in the post. He's big, strong, knows how to wall up. It's not like you're going to be able to dump it in on him like who's the big man for Kentucky?
Amari
Williams. Thank you. They were dumping into him and he was just working Z over. It ain't barbecue chicken like that against him. You just like to see a little bit more by way of shot blocking, whatever. They can address that elsewhere. I think he's going to be fine there. I've got a fun fact for you. I want to see what you think about this. Malique Ewin's middle name, not his nickname, his middle name is Flex.
Malique Flex Ewin, huh?
Malique Flex
Flex. That's how it's spelled.
Flex. You like that?
It's on his birth certificate, like everything. I go where that's
his
crazy.
Middle name. I got that off of his bio on Florida State.
Huh. I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah, I kind of like it too. And I think there was a story behind it, and I want to try to see if I can find it and pull it up real quick because I thought it was interesting. Yeah, I've got his bio right here, and let's see. Yeah, it says, what's in a name? My full name is Malique Flex Ewin. Malique is a name my father liked, and Flex is my dad's nickname. So his dad's nickname became his given middle name. So there you go.
I like that a lot. And Curtis, I'm happy to be the first to inform you. Your child might be named Flex. I'm getting reports from a very trusted source that your child might be named Flex.
Of all the names that have been thrown out there on our programming here at Inside Arkansas Live, that's the one. That's the one.
So, okay, it's his dad's nickname, but do we also call him that, you know?
Maybe.
Like, is that now his nickname? We'll have to ask him.
I wonder if that's going to be a thing where, you know, when Cal's referring to him, if he's like, oh, yeah, Flex in there. I'm down for it.
I definitely like it. I like it for sure. And I mean, also, it's easy to be named Flex when you're 6'11", 240. You're a massive human being. You know, it's tough if you're, you know, not big and strong.
That helps for sure. Man, there's just something to be said here for getting a little bit of momentum in the off season. And that was the most frustrating part to me about the wait, the delay, you know, whether it was retention announcements or, you know, portal guys coming in or whatever. It's just, I mean, we're what, 3 weeks, maybe more at this point. I don't know. The days are all run together from the season ending for the Razorbacks. And it's just, you know, it got a little stale and people were starting to get antsy and everything. So when you do make your splash to get 2 in one day, that's big time. I think that's exactly what they needed. Razorback fans have been starved for it. Pinto's literally been starved, period. I know I have too. This just comes as another welcome bit of news for Arkansas. Naturally, you know, the question now is what's next? I mean, that's where everyone turns. And I don't want to go too deep into it because, you know, like I gotta have content for the show tomorrow or whatever. But at the end of the day, what I think you're up to now, I believe, is 8 for sure, no doubt rotation pieces. Like if we assume everyone is back, so DJ, Darius Acuff, Malik Thomas, Carter Knox, Billy Richmond, Trem Brazil, Nick Pringle, Malique Ewin, 8, right? Yeah. And as I understand it, Arkansas wanted to be a couple spots deeper than they were this past year. So that kind of, in my mind, leaves room for 3 more additions. And also, as I understand it, they're, you know, big game hunting, as Eric Musselman's ghost said. Looks like they want to make 1 more splash and then maybe a couple role guys. And so when I think about that, I think add a little bit more depth to your front court because you can never have too many, in my opinion. And no matter where he plays, get a knockdown shooter. Splashy, pickup, big man, shooter, good to go. That's where I'm at with it, at least.
We talk positions a lot, and positions matter. Of course, whenever you have 2 guys like Pringle and Ewan who are pretty comfortably 5s, you know, there's not much really. I know we joked earlier on the show about Ewan being a 4. Don't think that's a thing, and don't think it's going to be a thing with this roster really. But we talk about positions, but really it's about skill sets. And when I look at this Razorback team, I see a lot of different skill sets. But like we said, the rim protection and 3-point shooting are the 2 that you kind of wonder about. I think 3-point shooting is certainly like just something that, whether that's from a big man, whether that's from wherever, like you said, just need a knockdown shooter, would definitely put this offense's floor extremely high. I mean, they already have a pretty high floor offensively. This is going to be one of the best offenses we've seen in the last, you know, however long, because we haven't seen that many elite offenses at Arkansas, frankly. And we only really saw this past Cal team play top level, highly rated offense for the last 2 months of the season. I think this team is going to be of that same ilk. But defense is kind of, I mean, you know, the shooting would make me feel even better about that. But I think what Malique Ewin does is, again, just raises your floor to a very high level. You know, you're going to have offense from, you know, DJ Wagner and those 2 freshmen. Carter Knox, you kind of know you're going to get something from him. Now you kind of know you're going to get that from your front court as well. You know, well, now it's just a matter of if Arkansas is going to be good or elite offensively, and rim protection on the defensive end. You should be able to get that from someone who just comes off the bench and gives you 15, 20 minutes. And so you talked about doing a splash. You can pick up some of these skill sets without it even really being a splash. Although, of course, we'll take that. You said earlier today, Curtis, you were trying to think if Arkansas is going to land like a big time player, what position would it be at? And we kind of were having this conversation before the 2 bigs committed. I guess Ewan kind of counts as that. Do you see like any room on the roster for another like guy that you're committing a ton of resources to?
I do. And it's interesting because, and we talked about this a little bit, well, not too long ago, but we've kind of been under the impression, given just some of the contacts and where some of the smoke has been, that they might've been looking to do that in the backcourt. If you think about an Ian Jackson, a Lamar Wilkerson, a Jaron Pierre, And we've always kind of wondered how the hell that would work if they bring DJ back, because it's just a numbers crunch, right? So you might have to get creative, play some small ball, mix and match positions a little bit, whatever. There's always room to make it work. But then as it turns out, we're still not entirely sure how heavily Arkansas pursued Ian Jackson. We know they didn't prioritize Lamar Wilkerson. And then we found out the hard way that they really didn't do that with Jaron Pierre either. The involvement that we thought Arkansas had versus what it actually was were two very different things. So have they really been prioritizing that, or were they just kind of covering all their bases, staying connected with some of these guys in the event that maybe a DJ Wagner or somebody else decided late, like, hey, I want to get in the portal, and then you ramp it up, So to me, the most logical place to make a big ad is a jumbo wing. Because right now, I mean, you got Pringle and Ewin, that's great. You got Trevin at the 4, but you have nobody behind him or alongside him. So you're going to have to make an addition there no matter what. And if you can do it to the standpoint of this is a guy who could play whatever minutes are left at the 4 when Trevin's not out there, if he slides down to the 5 and small ball or whatever, and also picks up some time at the 3, whatever's left over there, I think that's a great place to fit another body in. And we've mentioned the name before, but like we're talking about Malique Ewin, he has a teammate who's one of the best availables right now, and it's Florida State wing Jameer Watkins, who is just a walking bucket and a really talented player, and he can defend, and he's 6'7", 215 pounds, ideal for the 3-4. It makes a ton of sense to me. As I understand it, there's at least been a kicking of the tires. Now, Watkins is going through the draft process. And he's one of those guys where it's like, yeah, that's what he wants to do and everything.
And really doing it, not doing the Nick Pringle.
He's not doing yeah, exactly. Like he's going to get some workouts and everything. We'll see if he gets like one of those, a combine invite or the G League combine or something. It's going to be a waiting game for him. But he's one to where I feel like if he decides, you know what, I don't like my draft stock, or man, I just know I'm going to be able to make more money playing college basketball next season, I need to really think about college. I don't want to say for sure that Arkansas will be all in on him, because I thought for sure they would be all in on a Lamar Wilkerson who's in their backyard, or an Ian Jackson who Arkansas almost got and Cal almost got in the past and they weren't. But it just seems way too logical to not try to make a move there, in my opinion.
Just thinking, if I'm Jameer Watkins and I'm going through the draft process, I'm getting some decent feedback. They like my game, but they really want to see me prove it one more. What is a school and a coach that really has a history of sending guys to the NBA and like knows what it takes to get there? Is there like, I don't know, maybe I'll come up with one. But I appreciate our guy Max in the comments who says, yes, someone tell Malik to bring his buddy on over. Yeah. Also, maybe you'd want some familiarity. Maybe you'd want to know, you'd have one of your buddies wherever you're going to play ball. We'll see if Jameer Watkins can find a situation like that. But we wish him luck on his efforts.
We do wish him luck in his efforts for sure. I'll bring one more up, and then and we can just kind of segue right into the chat. Nate Ament brought up here by Razorback Hog, and the thing about Nate Ament is you never really know what's going on with Nate Ament. He never really knows what's going on with himself. For a while there, it sounded like, at least internally, Arkansas felt like they were building some momentum. That shifted. Some people were saying he was going to commit to Duke last Friday. It didn't happen. That's like the 5th time people have thought he's going to commit on a certain date, and then he didn't. And then, I know he got interviewed before the Nike Hoop Summit thing, was like, I'm hoping to make a decision in a week or two. Who knows when Nate Ament is actually going to commit? Sounds like, a lot of things are trending towards Duke in this one, but he legitimately is one of those guys who could wake up, have bacon for breakfast, and decides he wants to be a Razorback. And then he could have an orange for a snack and say, nah, I'd rather be a Tennessee Volunteer. That color looks good on me. It's just one of those things. I just know John Calipari. I know his affinity for freshmen, and he's not going to bow out of this. Now, could they have made a final offer, final pitch or whatever? Sure. But he's not going to cut ties with a recruit like Nate Ament until those ties are cut for him, until he commits to Arkansas or somewhere else. So I don't think it's going to be the Razorbacks, but I will never rule that out until he's officially committed elsewhere, because I know how Cal feels about helping those families, right?
And for what it's worth, and maybe that ends up being a lot, Nate Ament is a very different player than Jameer Watkins, but the criteria you laid out earlier of a guy that could fill in at the 3 and maybe do some of those backup 4 minutes behind Trevin, because he's not going to be in there, could kind of fill a couple different roles. That would kind of apply to Nate Ament. You know what I mean? Like he's the type of player that could kind of evolve, be a little bit of a chameleon based on some of these other combinations. And so, like we were saying, if Arkansas was going to make a splash, it would probably be in that wing to big area rather than the wing to guard area based on everything that we have right now.
Yeah, that makes the most sense to me. Make the splash you get right there. Get yourself a shot blocking big man. Get yourself a knockdown shooter somewhere, and let's go to work. I want to pull this one up real quick because C. Bardwell brings up another name. I like that everybody's in on the Jameer Watkins thing for sure. And the other part about Jameer Watkins, I know we've talked about this elsewhere before, but if we have new listeners who aren't aware or whatever, he should have been a Hog. He should have been a Hog years ago. Jameer Watkins was at VCU to start his career. Good player there. Now he's since really broken out since he went to Florida State, but he hit the portal. He visited with his good friend Caleb Battle to Arkansas at the same time. And Arkansas wound up taking KB and not Jameer Watkins. They pivoted to Jeremiah Davenport as their take instead because they thought that they would get knockdown shooting there. And, the rest is history, but Jameer Watkins winds up at Florida State, probably one that Eric Musselman would have liked to have back. But I feel the same way about that in a way as I did Ian Jackson, where it was like, okay, a lot of people thought that he was basically a done deal to Kentucky until he wasn't. And he visited Arkansas 5 days before he announced his commitment to North Carolina, loved it there. It's just too little too late. He might wind up reuniting with Eric Musselman at USC, by the way. Like I know everybody thinks St. John's, USC's in there. Like it wouldn't be crazy. I feel the same way about Jameer Watkins, where it's like you should have been a Hog once, you weren't. You have an opportunity to rectify that. All parties, aside from Eric Musselman, but school and player. Like let's get it done here. Darian Williams is a really good player. He's doing the same thing as Jameer Watkins. Yeah. That is the guy who Arkansas fans did not like for a while after the Sweet 16 because he hit some daggers on you. And then, he did the "don't celebrate too early" tweet or whatever. Big, thick body going to the test the draft waters. I think he's going to wind up coming back. He might wind up going back to Texas Tech, but he's going to be another one of those guys late who could command a great deal of NIL. And I would imagine Arkansas would at least gauge interest in that if it becomes a thing.
Dude, if Darian Williams becomes a Hog, Arkansas would be the beefiest team. It would be insane the size they would have. It'd be crazy to replace a Dude Thero with like 4 just massive bodies. Yes. They would be leaning on some folks, and he is again another guy that fits that kind of criteria. Probably more of a 4, but like can kind of fill in minutes and play with all these guys. And he's got a sneaky, well-rounded skill set. I mean, he went like 2 of 10 from 3 against Arkansas. Obviously hit the very big one, but he can knock down that 3 ball for sure. Rebounds like crazy. Like he's like a perfect college basketball player. That's why I think it's funny that he's testing the draft waters, because I don't think he's going to have a long NBA career, but he's a great college player.
He is. He is the prototypical mismatch nightmare for college guys, because if you put a guard on him, he's going to bully ball you. I mean, that's what he did to Carter Knox, and Carter Knox ain't a small dude. And if you put a big man on him, he's gonna drive right by him and take him off the bounce and get him in foul trouble. So that would be very interesting. Those two would be at the tip top of the wish list, and understand the difference between wish list and Arkansas is going after him. We don't know for sure yet. RJ Lewis is still out there. That's an interesting one. I think Arkansas fans might have an unfair representation of who he is as a player because of what happened in the NCAA tournament, because he sucked. I mean, he's 3 of 17 from the field. Rick Pitino famously benched him down the stretch. It was not a good showing for RJ Lewis, but he was the Big East player of the year, and he was the best player on a St. John's team that was tremendous on especially on the defensive end, but he was like their scoring guy on a team that had 0 spacing provided for him. He's also, I think he's the most committed to the draft process out of the 3 that we're talking about here, but you never know. And those are the clear best available options that would kind of fit that big wing category for sure. But I'm looking forward to talking about things like that, as opposed to talking about Malique Ewin and Nick Pringle every day like I have been for the last 10. So this is nice, man. It's different. It's exciting.
Yeah, it'll be a nice farewell to the big boys. We enjoyed the discourse era that lasted way too long. Should have had this sucker wrapped up days ago, so we could have moved on. But yeah, and it is nice that, like we said earlier, like it's not like Arkansas has 6 spots to fill. It's really just a couple, and so it's like you get to really be selective. And really, there's nothing that's not on the table, because it's like it's not like you have to be like, oh, if we get this guy, are we going to be able to get this one or that one? At this point, you're really just you're going all in on a big fish.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Let's go through some rapid fire here with the chat, and we'll wrap it up fairly quick here, because I know you got a baseball game to get. There's more Arkansas Razorback stuff going on. By the way, keep an eye out for a couple very tall gentlemen walking around with John Calipari tonight while you're out at.
By the way, Cal, you think Cal's going to go to the game? Because he was at football practice, which, by the way, he was at football practice like 20 minutes before we did this. So it's like, I wonder if he like locked up Ewin and then just kind of had a pep in his step, knowing that he had locked it up.
Yeah. Wouldn't you? I would go. I'd just be roaming around the concourse like the cock of the walk, which is exactly what he is right now. So I'm sure he'd get a nice ovation. Maybe he needs to throw out a first pitch again or something.
Curtis, can I give you some breaking baseball news real quick?
I love breaking news of any variety.
Kahio Aloy is playing right field tonight for the Arkansas Razorbacks.
Really?
He's playing right field. This would be big for his draft stock if he could do that. If he could, I think next year when they run it back with him, they're going to want him to. This will be our first look at him out there.
Did we get any Kahio Aloy outfield during the scrimmages in the fall or spring?
In the spring leading up. In fall, we thought he was going to start at first base. I had him like penciled in. I was like, hey, he's been raking. He's been playing first base. I knew he wasn't a great defender there, but I was like, this seems to be the plan. Something over Christmas break, they were like, you know what? Outfield or bust. And I think for his pro future, it makes a lot of sense. He was a pitcher coming out of high school, so got a good arm. Good for Kahio Aloy.
That is wow. That's not what I expected you to say. Okay, cool. Well, I'm looking forward to checking that out then. Hopefully UAPB is able to hit some balls to him, and we'll see if he's actually decent out there. Yeah. They picked a good game probably to do this. Maybe you'll get a fly ball or two, but you never know with those guys. So, okay, cool. Well, here we go. Rapid fire. Heartbroken Hog says the floodgates have lifted. Yeah, I'll say that's very true. John finally told the truth. Did he tweet it today, by the way? I don't know if he did.
I don't think he did. I think he didn't. I think he actually denied the opportunity to do it.
I think he said that he was just exhausted of sending the tweet. Damn, man. That's rough. But Thomas is right. Today has been an insane day. Finally, we got that. I love it, Finch. 2 bigs in 1 hour. I'll take it. Yeah, it's a solid day's work. Remember our Inside Arkansas Live show title that some people took exception to yesterday? Can Razorback fans really trust in John Calipari? Yes, you can.
Yes. We said yes to in the moment.
We just asked the question. John Calipari gave us the answer today.
There
we appreciate that. This is another. Listen, Razorback Hog said, did Pringle ever visit Arkansas? I haven't had enough time to digest today's news to see if that was confirmed or not. We heard that he had snuck in before the dead period. And then I had also heard that actually maybe he never did make it to campus, which after the Jaron Pierre thing wouldn't necessarily surprise me. But we do know Cal prefers his guys to come visit, go through that bit of the process. Even though it's sped up in the portal, that's a big piece of the equation before he takes commits. Usually I'm going to cautiously say yes, but I really don't know. Yeah. And I'm definitely going to be asking around after that to get some sort of confirmation. Like, it doesn't matter whether he did or not now, but I really do want to know, because it's the visit thing has been tricky. They're probably going to have another visitor this week, maybe multiple, but I'm going to need to hear it from a very specific set of people to believe it after everything that went down with Pierre, man. That was nuts. Absolutely nuts.
Yeah, it was a funny moment. About 30 minutes after we got done doing the Pringle stream, we're just sitting here and we're kind of waiting on this Ewin news. Honestly, we're just literally sitting in this studio with nothing going. And Curtis just says, did that guy ever visit? It just kind of hit you where you were like, did Pringle ever go on campus? It is worth noting he has been to the U of A multiple times, I believe, as a member of the Alabama Crimson Tide. So he's got at least the lay of the land. He's played in Bud Walton, But yeah, I would. I bet he. I feel like just gut feeling based on no information. I feel like he had to have snuck on here, right?
Yeah, that's what we're gonna go with, and I'll by the time I record the next pod at the Palace, we'll have a definitive answer on that. I do want to just go back to Pringle real quick. I know this is the Malique Ewin reaction, but listen, we got both of them in an hour. What do you want from us?
We talked about Ewin a lot on the Pringle show, anyways.
We did, and one thing I didn't mention about Pringle that I meant to, and we've talked about it before, his social media game is electric, and especially going back to his Alabama days, like the post game opponent troll videos that he would tag and put out there were awesome. He had a great one where he basically just stuffed Eric Musselman and Anthony Black and a bunch of people into a locker. Had some South Park references in it. Like it was hilarious, and he had several of those. I really hope that he brings them back now that he's at Arkansas. If you haven't checked out his social media game, it's strong. He just didn't have that many opportunities to roll with them at South Carolina because, frankly, they didn't win very many games this season. But that's another thing that I like about it. He's got some personality to him, Mr. Pringle. Cajun Razorback says, talking about Ewin, how does he compare to a healthy Adu? I would say not as good of a defender as Adu was, and probably not quite as doesn't have. And it's weird because he's a superior offensive player to Jonas, but I think Jonas is a little bit better back to the basket, especially going over his right shoulder. But in terms of full skill set offensively, even in pick and roll, and we saw what Adu was able to do to Kansas in ball screen action. But I just think that I think Ewin's just better than he is, and they're different players too. So it's a tricky comparison. But in short, I'd say Adu better defensively, Ewin overall better offensively.
Adu is probably more skilled. I think Ewin's a more imposing physical person. Like it just
looks that way to me.
I mean, and also you read the 48 dunks. I did not know that stat until you read it. That checks out. I mean, he's kind of got that just go up and get it, which like Jonas caught a few lobs here and there, but that wasn't a lob threat. I wouldn't describe him as that.
Right. Especially with 1 foot.
And so I think, for a guy like someone like DJ Wagner, I think there's going to be more room for like assisted buckets for someone like Ewin. But I think Adu is probably better at creating his own shot.
Yeah. Where'd it go? Oh, I found my place. Go Hawks says $2 glizzies and 2 portal commits.
I like that.
It's a good day. That's why we got to get Andrew out of here in a few minutes. You got to hit the stand before first pitch, It's going to be back up over there.
I thought about going. If all this had happened earlier, I would have gotten a bomb at like 420, 425, just to like beat the line. But we'll see. It'll work when it works.
Right. This cracks me up from Hunter Ratio. He says, "Do we need a 7-footer today?" Arkansas has got a 6'10" and a 6'11", and he wants to know if they need a 7-footer. And here's my answer for you: yes, they do. Go out and get one who can block a bunch of shots. Man, sign me up for that. Austin Taylor says 2 commits on the same day makes up for some of the waiting that we had to endure. I would agree with that. There's part of me that's like, could have spread it out a little bit, and we could have dragged out the excitement over the course of several days. But in the moment here, it feels good, man. It really does. Hunt, OZK says, no mo opposition, getting 10 offensive boards in 1 possession. Yeah, that was, if you didn't already feel the need to shore some things up on the defensive backboards, that possession where Texas Tech and the dude who has the same first and last name, that was tough, man. that was also brutal.
There's just something to be said about you're never going to have a perfectly well-rounded, great in every area team. Like that's just not really a thing that happens. But there is something to be said about just overcorrecting, and just being like, hey, that's how our season ended. Let's load up on this. And Arkansas is definitely going to have a lot better. They're going to be a much better rebounding team overall. I mean, in Brazil, by the way, good rebounder. Like, all right, just 1 through 5. Carter Knox, good rebounder. Arkansas should be able to rebound at a pretty high level, especially in that front court.
Yeah, I would think so for sure. And that's also going to be an area of growth, I think, for guys like Carter Knox and Billy Richmond. One who's just ridiculously athletic, another who's just, big, strong, physical dude. Both of those guys could be better rebounders at their respective positions. So I would imagine Arkansas gets better rebounding at the 3 as well. I think they're going to be better on the backboards this season.
felt like Knox got most of his boards on the offensive glass. It was kind of bizarre.
He did.
He was
Yeah.
big on the putbacks and stuff, but I know Eric Musselman always loved the guard rebounders. If you had a Jalen Tate on this team, that'd be the best rebounding team in the country.
Yeah. Wow. That's
Jimmy
actually
Witt type of guy, someone that averages like 6'7" from the guard spot. Muss used to have a lot of those guys. Arkansas didn't necessarily have the interior like dominant forces. If Arkansas had a guard that just randomly was like, I'm a 5'6" rebound guy. I mean, it'd be a big deal.
He was big on the rebounding guards for sure.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I do. I didn't want to. Sorry. I'll put a pin in it for later. I'll pull up another comment, but you'd already pulled up a cool one.
Okay, next one. Finn, he's feeling sorry for my wife here. Says, I can only imagine how you feel, Michelle, because my wife gets irritated with me listening to nothing but the Inside Arkansas podcast and doing my own research before I go to sleep. Yeah, the wife is a trooper, the pregnant wife. I can tell what's getting under her skin right now is just because of the nature of how this has gone. I've been recording the morning show at like midnight or after. And, when it's bedtime, it's bedtime, and she gets a little bit cranky with me. I can ease up on that a little bit now. I don't know if that'll be the case tonight for the tomorrow morning show, but that's been it's been a point of conversation, but she's very supportive. Anyway, go ahead.
She was in good spirits when I talked to her, before the show.
She's probably really happy that some things have happened here, because sometimes she'll see me and sometimes she thinks I'm way more stressed than I am or whatever. Sometimes it's just a long day and I'm just like scrolling and holding my forehead. And she's like, God, man, like give it a rest. I can't. It's just, it's that time of year. But anyway.
Yeah, you'll definitely be in better spirits. I feel like you've got a little bit of a weight lifted off your shoulder. I was just going to bring up this comment from Steven, who's he commented a couple times, but we were talking about rebounding and how big, Arkansas is going to be much improved in that area. And you're kind of giving up some shot blocking. With obviously Big Z, who I think led Arkansas in shot blocks last year. But he was basically saying it's kind of a trade-off Hog fans are probably willing to take, where you might not have the same rim protection, but you are going to rebound better. And I think we both agree that Arkansas is going to probably need to get somebody else that offers some rim protection. But I think Steven is on to something here, at least.
I agree. And this has been an argument that I've been making on the show and then also in the Discord. Typically, I would say yes. Like sometimes if you have deficiencies, like an area that you really need to improve on, you might take a step back in other areas. Like you're right, there is a trade-off there. In my opinion, there shouldn't be with Arkansas. And the reason I say that is because why not have it all? When this is the last year, probably, that you're going to be able to go out and spend that FU money that we know John Calipari has at his disposal, thanks to John Tyson. And you have the most feared recruiter in the history of college basketball. Like you've got everything in place that you need to put together the perfect roster. And I understand that perfect is in the eyes of the beholder, right? For sure. But you have all of those resources, and the main expectation that we have with John Calipari, and it hasn't changed just because he came here and did a great coaching job and wound up getting these guys out of the hole to the Sweet 16. With Cal and the NIL money that you have right now, putting together a championship contending roster, I think is the baseline expectation. Now, getting there is a different story completely. The pieces have to fit. It has to work on the floor. You have to avoid injuries. You have to have a little bit of luck. All that's there. But the on paper Final Four contender should not be in question, in my opinion. And so I get it. And I think that's exactly what you're doing here. I think that's the path that they've taken. And I'm cool with it too. But I also look at, like you said, Andrew, and like we've talked about, why do you have to be done in the front court?
Yeah.
Why can't you go get that other guy who's like his skill set, what he brings to the table is you put him in and he blocks shots when you need somebody to do that. And I really hope that they go out there and get it, because then what's your weakness in the front court? Yeah. Right. And especially if you have a shooter in Trevin, maybe you add somebody alongside him that can help from that standpoint too. Then you got the best mix of everything. And that's kind of where I'm at. I think that we can afford to be a little bit greedy given the position that we're in as Razorback fans right now with your coach and the finances that you have.
So basically what you're saying is add Jameer Watkins, add Damian Collins, win a title is what you're saying.
I mean, yeah, it's that simple. It's literally that simple. I don't know why this is complicated.
There really are. There's pretty much two spots left, right? Like, I mean, give or take, whatever. We'll see how it ends up. Maybe they only take one guy, but like 2 spots, shooting, rim protection, 1 + 1 = 2. I know it's not that simple. I know it's not just a candy store. You just pick what you want. You got to find the right guys. They got to be culture, blah, blah, blah. But like you said, like when you're looking at it from like a Moneyball standpoint, we got the funds, we got the coach, we got the pieces. Just go get another piece,
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly where I'm at with this for sure. So, did we pull up the super chat? Have we already done that? Okay, good. Because I went down to another one. Thank you.
I forgot that was a thing.
Dog. Appreciate that. He says, now we just need a retention announcement to really cap things off. And yes, I'm greedy. Good. Like I just said, you should be. He says, woo damn pig. Y'all deserve good things to talk about. Well, we appreciate that. And we're excited to be able to do it. What I will say about the retention announcement, I mean, we're a week out from the portal being closed. And at that point, it's not even necessary, because they can't leave even if they wanted to. So that's part of it. But, I would not, let me just put it this way. I would not be surprised to see Arkansas make a retention announcement when they know for absolute certain what all 4 of these guys are going to do. And I think they have a pretty good idea of what all 4, I think they know exactly what 3 of them are going to do. And I think they have a pretty good idea of what all 4 of them are going to do. I'll let you connect your own dots there. But I think once they have a full, for sure understanding of that we might get something, and it might be one big announcement. So we'll see if I'm right about that, but I kind of think that's where it's headed.
I mean, since you've made us wait this long, might as well just throw them all out there for us. Just bust the pinata. Here, go get your candy. Like I'm okay with it. I've talked myself into it.
I like it. I like it a lot. Big Donnelly says, are we on any guards? Tune in to tomorrow morning's Pot at the Palace and we'll discuss. But no, I mean, in all seriousness, they have been just like loosely in the mix for some of these guys. And we don't have to rehash all the details, but were they involved with Lamar Wilkerson? Lightly. They just never went all in. Same thing with Pierre. Same thing. It's looking like, at least with an Ian Jackson, we've seen him now reach out to Adam Miller, who is at Illinois and LSU and Arizona State, is another backcourt piece. So they've been kicking the tires, but they haven't fully committed yet. So does that change now that they've locked down a couple of their big guys? Maybe. Are they waiting to see what a Nate Ament does, or are they prioritizing a different position first? Maybe. So we'll see what it looks like there. But I would think they just have to add some shooting, and I think they need to add multiple capable shooters, and just having a veteran in the backcourt that could be a specialist there. It just makes too much sense for them not to, in my opinion. But I'm also the guy who just said, why not have it all? Be greedy. Just because I feel that way doesn't mean they do, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Just a couple more, and then we'll get out of here. I see Chase says, think after these 2 commits happening, y'all think we'll hear something from a player already on the team. Okay. Yeah. We just kind of covered that one. I love this. I love chats like this, right? From tomorrow. I'm so excited. It's like Christmas. I've been dancing around the house. I think a lot of people feel that way. Cause it has, man. It's been a bummer. Just having to sit and wait. And even those who are the most, Kool-Aid drinking Razorback fans, if it's going to be great no matter what, and why is everybody panicking or whatever, even you have probably had to look around at, Michigan spending all this money and getting all these big guys, and Louisville going crazy early, and, Kentucky going out there and getting, a bunch of different players or whatever, Auburn getting a couple guys that maybe you wanted. And it's frustrating. So we've had to wait around. And when you get 2 in one day, it's like, hell yeah, celebrate. I'm going to. I don't know what that means. Probably just eat dinner and have a cold beverage or whatever, then come in here and record another show. But it's going to be a celebration in my mind.
That's a celebration right there.
Let's see. What else do we have here? Yeah, I think we all agree here. Chili Dog Hogs. Yeah. I feel like we need one more big man. I don't know. It's just me. Yeah. Have an insurance policy. Could you get by with Ewin and Pringle and be more than just fine? Yeah. But do we really want to run that risk after everything that happened this year? I don't.
Yeah.
Personally.
And as much as we're talking about being greedy, we're not saying you got to go out there and get an all league player. You just got to go out there and get a reinforcement, a big body.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's exactly right. Like if they add another big man, I would be surprised if it's like if we're hopping on here going, whoa, hopefully or I would think it would just be a conversation of, okay, you've got your depth. This is what he adds to the table, and a nice complementary piece is kind of where I'm at with it. And I wanted to tackle this one just real quick before we wrap up here. From Samuel, who says, how many years of eligibility does Ewin have? And if I understand correctly, he played 2 seasons. So in 2022-23, he was at Ole Miss. He played 14 games. So that's a year. This past year at Florida State, that's 2. He went JUCO, but that I don't guess that counts anymore. So in my eyes, I'm seeing it as up to 2 years of eligibility left for Malique Ewin. So if that's the case, that would be fine. And I know that he was listed. I think the confusion is like Florida State, they have him as a junior. Reason why, because he played a year at Ole Miss. He played the JUCO year. It's like, oh, your 3rd year. We've got you as a junior. That's probably where he is academically or whatever. But in terms of college basketball eligibility, if I'm understanding the JUCO ruling correctly, I think he's got 2 years left to play there. So, okay. Another super chat. I'm glad I saw that from Jesse Thurman, and we appreciate you. He said, "Could this bring Ament back into the fold?" I don't think
this brings them back into the fold.
Yeah, like I don't connect either here. I think Arkansas is just going to remain, maybe a wild card in the recruitment for Nate Ament until it's over. And we talked about it a little bit earlier. If you want to go check it out, and I'm sure that's something I'm going to discuss for the pod that goes out in the morning. What I'll say, like if I was handicapping the race for Nate Ament today, I would say Duke in the driver's seat, Tennessee probably next up, and then after that you get into the Arkansas conversation. Obviously, as we know, stuff has changed with this kid so much. So could this be a situation? To your point, I know there's been some speculation that maybe Arkansas backed out of his. I just don't think that's the case. Now, could it be a deal where they've got these 2 guys, and then it's like, okay, front court was priority 1. And now we can kind of go back and reevaluate and see exactly how we want to attack. Could they go back now and say, hey, you know what? Nate Ament is just the perfect fit for what we need to really kind of round this thing out. And then you go back to him and say, hey, you wanted to wait and see what we were going to do in the portal. We went and got a couple big men. Here's exactly what we need. This is why you fit. Here's this much more in NIL that we can offer you. Take it or leave it, or put us back in the running or whatever. Maybe there could be something to something like that. Okay, we're done here. Andrew, before you go watch Kahil Aloy play right field, Arkansas picked up 2 big men on a day that they started without having any at all. So your final thoughts on what was I would say productive at least day for Arkansas basketball?
You could argue. I'm pleased with it. I mean, these were not like stunning announcements that we didn't see coming at all. But it's a lot better to actually get them out of the way and go ahead and get those guys on board. And now our imaginations can still run free with the possibilities, but we know what Arkansas is going to have a little bit in some key areas. They've replaced some things that they needed to replace. I feel great about it, man. And I'm excited to learn more about this roster and see how it shapes up, man. The possibilities are still kind of endless.
Yeah, they truly are. I'm excited to continue covering this. I'm excited that Arkansas got a couple guys, and looking forward to covering Nick Pringle and Malique Ewin playing basketball as Razorbacks, but I am ready to talk about them less for the time being here. And so going to dive into to some other names and what could potentially be next for the Razorbacks. So be on the lookout for that. Appreciate everybody, man, for tapping in, rocking with us. I know a lot of folks I've seen, like the daily comments on the Pod at the Palace of, man, like it's, you need something to happen, Curtis. Like, we need something to happen. I know you're tired of talking about the same stuff. We're ready to hear about something different. We're all in the same boat. And so, yes, this feels just as good for me as everybody else. And we're excited, but appreciate everybody. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please go ahead and do that while you're here. Inside Arkansas, Subscribe to the Bombastic Podcast if you haven't done that already with Andrew Ellis.
Later tonight.
Be back later tonight. The show doesn't stop just because the basketball news is, we think, done. Arkansas baseball is getting ready to play. So make sure you're tapped in with that. And I would say that I will see you guys tomorrow. Who knows at this point, but we'll see you when we see you. So for Andrew Ellis and Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas, y'all have a good night. Enjoy it. Celebrate. Puff your chest out. Watch Arkansas baseball. It's been a good day. We'll catch you next time.